You're listening to the Gutsy Podcast, where we talk about all things real, raw, and ridiculous about running a business authentically. I'm Laura Wallace, also known as the Laura Aura, lover of all things inspirational, owner of Works Graphic Design, and your host on this journey through entrepreneurship. I'm here to help you get out of your head and back into action as a passionate business rock star. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday as we fuel your gutsy. All of us have so many things going on at any given moment. And what is the classic answer to, hey, how are you doing? Well, I'm busy. We're busy at work. We're busy at home. We're busy with commitments and board of directors and volunteer things and church. And the time just literally slips out between our fingers. Most of the stress that we have in our lives are self-induced. We are filling our time with too many things, yet expecting to be able to, one, give our best, but two, get the most out of it all. This week on the Gutsy Podcast, we're going to talk about simplifying your life. I want you to get your time back. I want you to gain some of your sanity. And most importantly, I want you to enjoy this life. Look, we are always trying to do the next best thing, fulfill everyone's needs, meet all of our promises. And yet at the end of the day, when we put our heads on our pillows, if we even make it there, what's left for ourselves? Now, there's no shortage of blogs on the internet on how to simplify your life, which tells me that people are still searching for the answers. Now, you know that I can give you all the advice and all the experience all day long, but what it boils down to is you making a choice and taking action. Everyone's schedules look very different, so simplifying my life may look different than your life, and simplifying your life may look different than your partner's. The best part about that is it's okay. There isn't a one-size-fits-all, which is why there are so many different resources to figure out how in the hell do I simplify this crazy, chaotic life that I've created. While there isn't a cookie-cutter method, there are definitely a few ways that can help to reduce the amount of shitstorms that you face on a day-to-day basis. So let's jump right in. The very first way that you can simplify your life is limit the amount of commitments that you make. How many things are you saying yes to on a regular basis? Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can go here. Yes, I'll join your organization. Yes, I'll give you my services. When you're always saying yes, you are voluntarily filling your time. Now, yeah, there are definitely meaningful things that you want to say yes to, things that really align with who you are. And you have the time to dedicate to it. But on a regular basis, you're probably overcommitting yourself to a lot of things that it's not a hell yes. Saying no to people, and especially people that we care about, is really challenging. But I want to also encourage you that on the other side, it's really empowering to know that you have taken control back of your life. You have gained back valuable time that you knew you didn't want to do something. You knew you didn't want to go hang out with that person. You knew you didn't want to go to that networking event, but you went anyway, and then you end up resenting it the entire time. By limiting your commitments, you have the power to say yes to more things that fill your cup instead of draining it. Next, I want you to declutter. Oh my gosh. The shit that people keep on their desks and on their dressers and on their floors and on their walls and like everything. When you are surrounded by clutter, you cannot function properly. Now, you may be one of those people that think you can, and I'll give that to you. I'll applaud you, but I'm also going to challenge you back. Because how much more streamlined could your life be if it were in order? If you could find that piece of clothing that you just toss around all the time, if you could find that paperwork that you know that you put it somewhere, but it had no system. I am a stickler about keeping my desk clean. I personally cannot operate in clutter. It actually raises my anxiety. Imagine how much more simplistic your life would be if your stuff was just a little bit more in order. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and become like some crazy organization person. And if you want to, kudos, like matching bins are life, guys. But I do want to encourage you to, if you want simplicity in your life, you've got to get your stuff in order, like your physical stuff. Maybe it is your digital things as well. Do you have If I went onto your computer right now and you had 74 files on your home screen, I'm probably going to pass out. Like finding a system that works for you to keep things organized so that when you go back to find it or back to use it, generally, you know where it is. This is going to drastically reduce your stress and anxiety, and it simplifies things. When you know you have to put something away, there's already a system for it. When you're living and working in clutter, that's what you're attracting. If you are hungry for simplicity, first, you have to surround yourself with simplicity. Another way to simplify your life is to reduce how many social media platforms that you interact on. We live in a digital age. We are connected more than ever, but that does not mean that you have to be connected on every social platform that the internet has ever created. Simplify your efforts, whether this is for work or just personal, by reducing the amount of platforms that you're on and show up on those platforms more often. For instance, if you are trying to maintain YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, I mean, we could go on and on. If you're trying to show up in all of those different places, I'm going to bet that you're probably not doing it very well. You're most likely in a reactive state of, oh shit, I haven't posted on such and such platform for quite some time. If you reduce how many of those social platforms that you're interacting on, you're going to be able to give more of your focus, more of your energy, and see a much bigger return on the platforms that you do use really well. Not to mention, it just simplifies the hell out of, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage all these things? How am I going to change my content for all these things? It just gets really robust very quickly. And a side tip in marketing, make sure that you know your target audience and meet them where they are. This is the easiest and probably the most black and white way to choose which platforms that you're interacting in. Next, I want you to do less more often. We fill our schedules, we fill our time. Let's take exercise, for instance. Let's say that you are signed up at the gym, and then you also take a class somewhere else, and then you also take yoga somewhere else, and then you also have this app that you're using at home, and you've just got a lot of different avenues. Much like what we just talked about on social media, I'm going to bet that you're not nailing any of those exercises, let alone even showing up for them on a consistent basis. So why do you need all those things? Can you find a tool that allows you to do a lot of the different things you like to do, but in one platform or setting? Can you nix some of those subscriptions and places that you're a part of and just really focus on an area? Is there just honestly one type of exercise that you can do more of and get rid of the rest? You can simplify your life by not trying to do so many freaking things. You don't have to impress anybody. You don't have to have the special outfit to go to the special gym. I mean, literally, it just boils down to what can you do? What can you commit to? And then nix the rest of it. And just do that really well. And once you nail it, great. If you want to move on to something else, fine. Or maybe at that point, you find you can infuse something else in. But why have all of these resources at your fingertips and not use any of them? Focus on one, do it really well, and then move on. This next one may sound kind of silly, but it has worked really well for me, and that's make extra dinner so that you have leftovers for lunch the next day, maybe even two. Dinner is always one of those tension points. It's like, what do you want? I don't know. What do you want? And then we end up going all around the bend or end up going out to eat or doing all these. We had to literally take a hard stop and be like, okay, clearly this is not working. Because when you're not cooking and you don't have meals at home, that also means that you don't have lunch for the next day, which means that you're going out, which takes more time, which takes more gas, which costs more money. All of this is very complicated. It may seem easy, but if you do that day after day, week after week, all of that stuff really adds up, not just financially, but with your time. So what we found is that if we just make too much dinner, and my 12-year-old doesn't eat all of it, I have enough extra food to just pack a lunch. And as we're cleaning up dinner, as we're putting dishes away, as we're cleaning up the table, I'm quite literally getting out my lunch containers, 1, 2, 3, however much extra I have, and I am putting the leftovers in the bins. And then I love to take this one step further. The next day, I take all of those bins at the same time. I really freaking hate carrying lunch to work every day. I don't know why. It just rubs my ass the wrong way. So I have found to simplify my life, just take it all at once. Why trickle them in? If you have a few containers or a few pieces, or if you know, hey, I know that I'm really craving chips and salsa this week, on Monday, take an entire bag of chips and salsa into work and leave it there. Why pack individual little things every day? So this is, kind of a silly thing, but it actually really works and it has helped to simplify just a small aspect of my life. And we all know that greatness can come in quantity. So when you're simplifying, a few of these things simultaneously, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like I almost feel like something is wrong because things are running so efficiently. That's a great feeling because it means that you have done something really well for your time. The next area that you can help to simplify your life is to create a system for things that you do most often. So there are tasks that you perform on a daily basis or on a regular basis that you do it a similar way, but maybe not the same way every time. You can drastically reduce your time and reduce your efforts by creating a system so that you just always know how it's done. And most importantly, especially at work or even at home, if you're delegating to a family member, you can teach someone else how to help you. And there's a whole level of simplicity in that, right? When you get to delegate and free up that time and space. Let's take something at work, for instance. If you know that there's a general way that you prepare for a meeting, you always know that there's certain forms that you need, there's a couple of marketing materials that you might gather. What if you created a system by creating what might be a marketing or preparation packet? Is there a folder that you can use? Here at Works, we have a plastic folder that we love. Can you gather all of those pieces and have ready-made, ready-to-go pre-meeting kits? So instead of at the 11th hour before every single meeting trying to find and figure out where all these things are, you've taken maybe 15 or 20 minutes, created 10 or 15 of these packets, and now they're just sitting and ready for you to go. This was life-changing, and it is so simple. Simplifying your life can actually be really simple, but have a huge impact. We're not running around like chickens with our heads cut off. The whole team knows where they are, and we know when we're running low, we just join forces and create some new ones. I guarantee you there are some areas in your life and business that you can do this very same thing. Here's another simple tip, but is really kind of awesome and will make you less grouchy in the morning, and that's choose your clothes the night before. I know that sometimes we change our minds. That's okay. But look at your calendar before you leave for work. Know what your next day looks like. Is it an in-office day and you got to really just crank out a bunch of stuff? Could that be a more casual day? Or do you have a calendar full of meetings and you know that you need to look your best? By pre-planning, you take that stress off of the morning of. The morning can be hectic, especially if you have kids and spouses and everyone's going every which direction. It's like the intersection of a highway. At the very minimum, you know what you need to be successful for that day. So it's a whole piece that gets to come out of the equation for the morning craziness that happens. It also helps you just to feel a little bit more prepared. I love not having to make decisions in the morning because, well, quite frankly, at 7 a.m., I'm not really like the most joyful person to be around. So by sitting it out the night before, I've already set myself up for the next day. I don't have to make decisions in the morning. I can just do what I need to do. And if I change my mind, fine. But the majority of days, it's like, oh, thank God I did that because that's already taken care of. Another really easy way to simplify your life is to do things in batches. Sometimes it can feel like you're playing a professional game of whack-a-mole, and I recently have had a really intense version of that. But it's really great when you can batch very similar tasks together and do them as a set. For instance, if you know that you need to make several phone calls tomorrow, do those phone calls in batches. Get yourself in the frame of mind to say, you know what, okay, now I'm in phone call mode. I'm going to call X, Y, and Z. I'm going to get all this information that I need. I'm going to have the conversations, and then those things are going to be done. Versus coming in and making one phone call, and then checking some emails, and then talking to your team, and then having another phone call, and then going to lunch. And you start to scatter things out, and it requires your brain to switch gears so frequently that oftentimes you're not doing things the most efficiently, for one, but probably not giving it your best either. If it's email, get in your email, do a handful of things for a half an hour, and then get out of your email. And then maybe don't get back in until later in the afternoon so that you can focus on some other things in between. For this podcast, I batch record. It takes a very specific frame of mind for me to get into. And if I recorded one episode and then did a bunch of other stuff and then tried to come back and do another one, I'm not going to be efficient. It's going to take me a whole lot longer. And I'm literally pushing my mind to require it to snap in and out of the mode. Doing things together in batches not only gives you your time back, but just really allows you to stay in one space. We are always all over the place. You're always doing so many things. Just imagine if you could do one whole set of tasks and feel like, oh my gosh, I've accomplished something. I've nailed something. I feel like I have actually moved the needle. You can do that by batching your tasks. Next, and again, these things are so simple, but we take them for granted. I need you to organize your freaking purse, suitcase, work bag, briefcase, whatever that you carry to work every day. I need you to stop today and organize that thing. You're on the go, you're tossing things in and out. You don't know if you have your pen in there, but maybe you do. You've got a bunch of files, you've got a spare key from something that you don't even know what it belongs to. You've got a stick of gum that's half coming undone. Is your chapstick in there? I don't really remember. It becomes this clusterfuck of stuff that ends up that you're carrying it to work every day and you need the stuff that's in it, yet you don't even know if you're prepared for it. Something as simple as my office keys are different than my car keys and my home keys. I was just tossing it in my bag every day. And then every day when I was trying to go home, I'm digging through, I'm trying to figure out where they are, what's happening, what's going on. Enough. No, I can't do this anymore. Because even though this is a small thing, this is a small thing that is reoccurring every single day. So I've got this really cool keychain that Amber made me for my work keys, and I have a very specific pocket that I put them in my purse. And then my home keys, I also put them in a different pocket in my purse. And this is so simple, but it has absolutely helped me to just not have to deal with that extra piece of stress. If you're carrying a bag that you are digging through, if you're carrying a briefcase that you've got papers from 2004 in there, if you don't even know the last time that you opened it up and went through it, seriously, I want you to stop today because this is such a huge and simple way for you to simplify your life. Yet you're willing to tolerate it because it's not that big of a deal, right? It doesn't cause that much stress in your life. But if you take the step back and look at how many times a day do you get frustrated over this? If the answer is every day or multiple times a day, that's a sure sign it's time to do something about it. And last but not least for this episode, ditch overthinking. I know, way easier said than done, and I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but overthinking requires so much of your time and energy that it's almost obscene. One of the greatest ways to create complexity in a situation is to add in overthinking. I recently shared with my team one of my goals for this year is to stop overthinking conversations after they have happened. So I've had a conversation or an interaction with somebody and then I go home and I think, oh, well, I should have said this, or maybe did I use the wrong tone, or I don't really understand how they meant that, so maybe I did something wrong. Overthinking is one of the least useful pieces of energy that we are given. Yet it's something that we do more frequently than probably any others. The trick with this, to simplify, is to catch yourself doing it and notice it. Recognition and awareness is key when you are an overthinker. So when you go into a situation or you've had that conversation in this instance and you're like, oh, oh my gosh, maybe I did something wrong, and you start going through all these scenarios in your head, that's where I want you to pause, be aware of what you're doing, and ask yourself what is true, what is actual. When you pause and really digest it, this is an opportunity to make a different decision and have a different reaction. That's how you start to break some of those habits, is recognizing it, changing, recognizing it, changing. This one might be a little bit more difficult than cleaning out your briefcase, for instance, but This is something that really takes up a lot of mental space and complicates your life. It's amazing how much brain capacity that you get back when you are not overthinking everything. Now, I'm sure that we could find 1,000 other ways to simplify your life, but we also can't change everything overnight. So I hope that these are digestible, quick ways that you can start to move that needle. I want you to have capacity back in your life. I want you to have more control of your life and your time. I want you to feel more at ease. Your time is valuable, and so are you. So my challenge to you is choose one of these. Choose one that resonates the highest with you, or choose one that you're like, yeah, you know what? I can do that and I can stick with it. I want you to implement it right away. And I'd love to hear on social, on Facebook or Instagram, what you have done and how it's made an impact in your life. You're going to be amazed at how much time you can actually give yourself back. Join me this Thursday as we take our power back by cleaning out the social junk. Your news feeds, yeah, they're kind of a reflection of what you are allowing in your life. For a look into previous episodes or for more gutsy insight on life and business, follow me on Facebook and Instagram at @ThatLauraAura. And until then, stay gutsy.